Welcome everyone, it has been a while, but we are now back with our first guide post Season 4 launch. So we are now looking at Tekken 7 version 4.01. Congratulations to us. So we'll be taking a look at Lee with this guide set, and as with our other guide sets, we'll start this first part by going over his core essential moves. Then in part 2, we'll go over basic Lee strategy, and then in part 3, we'll cap everything off with a character overview, including basic combos, punishers, and players to watch. Remember that there is a written version of this guide if you ever wish to look something up without having to watch the video. I keep those updated if I come across new information or need to correct an error. That all out of the way, let's talk about some Lee. As we have with our other guides, we will save our discussion of stance related items for the strategy section, so both Hitman and full crouch while standing moves will be addressed in the next video. Lee's 1-2 are standard jabs, but he also has a couple of counter hit tools in 1-2-2-3, which you can confirm 1-2-2 counter hit and finish on reaction, and 1-2-4, the last hit of which will give a counter hit juggle on its own. This will provide you extra mental frames after doing just 1-2. 1-2-4 is unsafe, but you can charge it to make it safe. You can also go into his misstep if you want with 1-2 forward neutral. 2-1 is a high natural combo poke string. It's safe and has high, mid, and low extensions to protect against buttons, and it can also go into Hitman. But 2-2 is more common since it's high mid, and you can confirm counter hit 2-2-3 just like 1-2-2-3. 2-2 is unsafe, but most people want to duck and launch the high, so you can normally get away with it. Regardless, a 10 frame counter hit string is pretty good. Standing 3 is a safe mid kick with good range. It can go into Hitman, but you can also confirm the follow-up 3-3. This can also serve as a threat to people challenging the first hit. At a certain point, they'll just stop and you'll regain some initiative when you don't finish it. Standing 4 is a quick, safe counter hit launcher. 4-4 is most common as it still launches, but is just a tad safer. Since it's 2 hits, it'll also linger out there for longer, so you can still nab people trying to do something after the first hit. 1+2 will probably be your primary homing move. It's very safe, mid, and counter hit launches. It can go into Hitman, which is what you'll normally want to do since you can bring your Hitman game into play. 4-2-1 is a quick, confirmable mid-high natural combo string. It's safe, but the second hit can be ducked. It also wall splats, one of your primary punishers. Forward 3 is an I-15 mid. You can confirm the string into a juggle on hit. All of the snap kicks, of which there are 5, are -18 on block, but the threat of finishing the string, which you can do starting at the 3rd snap kick, usually prevents retaliation. Either way, this is another one of your main punishers, particularly for whiffs. Forward 4 is a safe I-11 high. It has 2 extensions, one high, one mid. Both are safe and both are natural combos on counter hit. Solid poke string that's good for interrupting thanks to its speed. The threat of a second hit also makes it a lot better than the -7 it technically is on block. Forward 3+4 is a safe mid low crushing flip, +4 to +6 on block, but fairly slow at I-30 to I-32. Still very good for pressure, particularly for Oki, since it cannot be tech rolled if it hits grounded. Lee has a better version, and maybe even the best version, of generic down forward 1. It's got nice range, better evasion than the generic, and even has an extra active frame, so 2 instead of the normal 1. This can actually make it neutral on block in some cases, which is pretty awesome for an I-13 mid. With so many high crushes and high evasive moves, this might be the move you'll end up using the most. Generic down forward 2. Safe I-15 mid launcher, although it only launches crouchers on counter hit. Also tends to go under highs at times, particularly jabs. It's really hard to find a move with better risk versus reward, so spam this at will. Down forward 4 is a quick, safe, rangy mid poke that can go into Hitman by pressing 3. Decent pushback too, which is important because you can easily cause whiffs if your opponent mindlessly mashes afterwards. Incredibly important poke that you'll use a lot. Down 2 is similar in use to down forward 1, including for evasion, but it's slower, does more damage, has more range, and more plus frames on hit. This now also gives a knockdown on counter hit in Season 4. -6 on block though, compared to just -1 of down forward 1, so not as much freedom to keep up pressure on block. Down 3 is incredibly essential. It's quick, high crushes, can go into Hitman, which you should normally do, and gives a launch on counter hit. Do be careful though, because it is launch punishable on block. Both of these low pokes you will be using a lot. They're both incredibly quick at I-13, both have decent range, and in down back 4's case, solid track. You can run timing mixes with down 4-4 and down 4 neutral 4, both of which can lead to nasty counter hit damage. Down back 4 is simply the generic toe kick, but toe kick is always a good poke. It's essentially a down 4 that high crushes but has no follow-ups. But whereas down 4 is -14 on normal hit, down back 4 is only -2, so you can still run spacing and movement setups with it. Down back 3 is a little slow for a low poke, but only -12 on block and +2 on hit. Decent tracking to the right as well. Startup looks similar enough to things like standing 3, so you still shouldn't have to worry about it getting blocked on reaction. Down back 3+4 is very similar to down back 3, very slow, which is its biggest weakness, but its startup looks similar to things like back 4, and it's only a tad slower, so it's a move that if mixed up well can still be unseeable. It's +4 on hit and decent tracking to one side, and it also knocks down on counter hit for a free forward 3+4. Back 1 is an I-15 rangy poke, 0 on block. Back 1-1 is a high mid natural combo that's also safe and can go into Hitman or Misstep. The full back 1-1-2 is natural combo as well, but the just frame version takes some practice and is very worth it since it knocks down and can give a juicy wall splat combo. Back 4 is an extremely safe I-20 mid counter hit launcher. Huge hitbox and big active window, so it can actually hit on frames 20 through 22. Back 4-3 is the Hitman transition, which you'll normally want to do since he steps back, making it really useful for setting up whiffs, one of his best keep out tools. Back 3+4 is an I-20 mid power crush that wall bounces, -15, so you'll normally use one of your other counter hit tools against pressure, but it can definitely be worth the reward, particularly at the wall. Up back 3 is an I-20 mid. You'll use this a lot for Oki, but it has a big active window and he moves backwards, so it can be tough to punish and can sometimes be -9 if spaced properly. Knockdown on hit, free forward 3 on counter hit. Forward 3 is an I-14 rangy power mid, knockdown wall splat, -10 but typically safe due to the pushback. Since Lee's mid-range game is kind of suspect, this is one of the few moves that you can use for that purpose. It is a bit linear, so be careful. Forward 4 is a safe I-16 high launcher, high crushes from frame 5 to 12, common setup move against jabbers and people using very predictable highs. You can spam this almost in the same way that you would down forward 2. Back 4 is an I-18 homing launcher, big active window, roughly +2 on block unless you go into Hitman, in which case it hangs around +4 or so. Note that you lose the ability to launch if you go into HMS, but you do still get a free HMS up forward 4. Running 3-4 is one of the better running moves in the game. Learn to do this quickly, particularly at close ranges. You'll almost always want to go into Hitman by pressing 3+4 since it's +4 to +6 on block. Lee has very few ways to quickly start pressure, especially from range, so this is an important move for that. So there are actually two versions of sidestep 3+4. Sidestep left 3+4 and sidestep right 3+4. Sidestep left 3+4 is a high, while sidestep right 3+4 is a mid. Prior to Season 4, I would not have listed this as an essential move. However, sidestep right 3+4 was buffed in Season 4 so that it's now safe. Hard to tell long-term impact, but it has decent range and hits hard. It'll also knock down wall splat, and if you're far enough to their side or back, you can actually get a full launch with a back 3-3 pickup. I think this is a really good move now that it's safe, so it deserves a mention. Lastly, we'll talk about Lee's Rage Drive, which is a souped up version of his forward 3. It's an I-16 mid, essentially neutral on block, launch on hit. It's most useful though for turning certain things into full launches, like while standing 2-3 or counter hit up back 3. So basically any situation where you would normally get a forward 3. And now we are at the end of part 1. It's nice to be back to the guide videos after a bit of a hiatus. Again, this list is just to get you started by focusing on Lee's most effective moves. In part 2, we'll talk more about common strategies Lee players use to run a normal game plan, so stay tuned. But with that, thank you for checking out this video. I hope you found this information helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe here on YouTube. I also try to stream whenever I can, so the link to Twitch is down in the video description below. You will find Twitter and Facebook links down there too. Lastly, consideration for the Patreon is greatly appreciated. Patreon is definitely the best way to support your favorite content creators. We got a mix of patrons this time around, so much love to our 2 patrons, Tato and Apples. That support is greatly appreciated. Have a good day, everyone, and we'll see you next time.